I believe in God, right? And I believe that God will open doors for you.
Yes, absolutely.
When mankind
Yeah.
will try to close every door,
Yeah.
God will.
Absolutely.
If it is your destiny, if there's a bigger plan for what you're doing, what is in your heart, if you just put your work in,
Yes,
God will do the
absolutely.
rest.
Yeah.
Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for tuning in. And for any visitors, you are so very welcome. So today, here with me, I have got the lovely Abby, an old friend, and I'll just let her introduce herself.
Oh, thank you, Sanya. It's really lovely to see you. It's
Yes.
such a treat for me.
Yes, so let's
feels
cheers
like
to
a
that.
reunion almost.
Reunion.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Dr. Foluké Abigail Badijo. People call me Abby for short, and I don't mind that. But you know, if you can say Foluké, I like that too.
I love Foluké. Yes.
I like that too because it's actually a beautiful name.
Yeah.
It's got meaning to it, just like, you know, in my culture, I'm Yoruba.
Yes.
And in Yoruba culture, you are named based on the specific set of circumstances in which you were born into. So for me, my name is very special because of that particular set of circumstances, which maybe it's a story for another day.
Yes, yes.
But I do appreciate having my name pronounced properly.
Yes.
But I've been called Abby for a long time only because people find it very difficult to pronounce Foluké.
Yeah.
So I've now taken to actually putting the accents on it properly, like spelling it the way that formal Yoruba is spelled and written. So that way, you know, it gives people more of a prompt as to how to pronounce it. So.
Absolutely. And I think that I always encourage people to actually use the name that they were given by their parents, whether it's difficult or not. I just think that we just need to push for it, for people to just say it right.
I love that you live with conviction. And it's funny, because when did I meet you? I remember it was like over a decade ago.
Yeah.
It was a while ago
Yes.
now. And you just always stood out to me as such a strong, bold, you know, colourful, beautiful girl. And you just always had a mind of your own. And I always admire anybody that can, you know, stand behind, you know, their beliefs and with conviction and speak, you know, their truth.
Absolutely.
And you do that.
Thank you.
So I
Thank you. I
admire
appreciate that. Foluké. So what do you do, Abby?
I'm an academic. I work at QUT. I'm a research fellow.
University, Queensland University
of Technology.
Of Technology.
Yes, and my knowledge domain expertise is in behavior change, so social behavior change, you know, social movements, public health, program design, health promotion, etc. I actually work between two centers of research at QUT. So one is the Center for Childhood Nutrition Research, and the other is the Center for Decent Work and Industry. So both of them really complement my interest and my skills because I get to research social issues such as human trafficking, which I did as part of my PhD, and you know, design social innovations to try to combat the problem. And with my other center work, I look into health problems, so chronic health issues, you know, health problems that include modifiable behaviors that people can actually change themselves if they, you know, took the time to think through and engage with, you know, the different practices and, you know, norms or beliefs that shape, you know, their behavior. So I do a lot of that. So program design, you know, research, formative research. I go to communities in North Queensland, and actually I was so proud of myself. And this is not to toot my own horn, but you know,
Look,
I was so proud of myself because I went to North Queensland a couple of years ago. I won a grant to research how to increase the fruit and veg intake amongst young children, so primary school children and their families in disadvantaged communities. So migrant communities, Indigenous, Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander communities. So it was Mackay, Cairns and Townsville. And I got to learn so much about Indigenous culture that I didn't know before, you know, because you don't, you know, it's not something you learn in mainstream,
unfortunately,
Australian society. So, and it always
which
hurt
should be
me
included.
that, and I've always been just amazed at the fact that, Indigenous people are relegated to the sidelines, to the background. We don't talk about them, we don't really interact with them. It's as though they're not even a part. It's like they're being erased, from modern
that
society.
was the initial plan, wasn't it?
Exactly.
Which is sad.
It's really sad, and
heartbreaking.
that's what I'm really happy. I'm glad for Black Lives Matter, because the movement has also opened up conversations in Australia as well about the rights of Indigenous people. They are the most incarcerated, of all the population groups in Australia.
Absolutely.
And they are the victims of police brutality and force. And so it's not fair that, these things are happening and people think that racism only happens in America. It happens here too. It just takes on a different form, different dimensions.
So how long ago did you finish your PhD and then working full time?
Oh, gosh. Funny story. I started my PhD in 2012, and then I got pregnant halfway through my PhD.
Life of a woman.
Everybody told me, think about your career, just try to finish your PhD before you have a child, or, you should have had the child before you started the PhD.
Yeah.
Everybody had something to say about my state. And that's why I called my son Zion in a way, because when I hear that Lauryn Hill song and she goes, everyone told me to be smart, think about your career. And that was my story, and it doesn't matter, because the minute I fell pregnant with him, he was like my miracle child. I knew that I would make it work. It doesn't matter. We're women, we come from a long line of strong women's strength, and dignity. And for me, it was never going to be something that I would shy away from. I love a challenge. And doing a PhD and birthing almost a 10-pound baby. Well,
big baby, Zion. Oh my goodness.
He was big. He was big.
Yeah.
And so for me, that was, I'm not going to lie, it was challenging.
Of course it was.
But like I said, I love a challenge. And for me, being able to complete the PhD, which I did in 2016, so it took me 4 years. I had my baby, I graduated, and then I worked part-time initially. And I've been working full-time now for the last couple of years. So my baby's 5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Share a little bit about some of the challenges that you obviously went through, like, your career, chasing your career versus, motherhood.
When I had Zion and then I went back to work, it was very difficult because I struggled so much with the guilt. And I took a year off, to be fair, experience what that feeling of motherhood, that new motherhood is, and just be there for my baby, be everything to him. Just before he turned a year old, I had to go back to work. And I say I had to because it was an agreement between me and my husband at the time that, I would go back to work. And to be honest, I felt as much as I was ready to go back to work, because, babies are babies after all. You're talking to them and you try to interact with them, but there's only so much that they can give back.
Yes.
So I was missing a lot of that adult interaction and the mental stimulation. So I was ready to go back to work, but I wasn't prepared for the guilt, the exhaustion, both mental and physical, and the emotional labor, of motherhood. No one really talks about that. No. As a mother, you give so much of yourself, so much love, and unless you're getting your tank refilled, it's a hard road to walk. It's quite hard. I don't think I've met a mother who's just been like, it's a breeze. Kids are hard work.
Only in the movies.
Kids are hard work. But the emotional labor I want to talk about is that feeling of, this baby, this child is yours. So you give so much of yourself, you give so much love, but then it takes so much out of you too.
Of course.
Because you're drained and you're depleted at the end of the day, and you just want to sleep.
Yeah.
But then you have to also work. You have the housework that you have to do. If you're lucky, you have a husband who can, share the workload with you. Yeah. That's great. And, it's modern, we live in modern times now, and that the housework is not as gendered as it used to be.
Yes,
thank
the Lord.
God. But the bulk of the work still falls on the woman. You still cook, you still keep the house clean, you still for me, I'm a bit OCD about my space. I need things to be structured and ordered, and if you live with someone who is the complete opposite, it can really create a lot of,
nasty dynamic.
a different kind of dynamic.
Different dynamic, yeah.
So for me, dealing with the stress of that, dealing with, work, having to be away from my baby, and the exhaustion of giving so much, and it
compounded.
It just feels a lot at times, and I feel like not enough women talk about this, and not enough mothers talk about this. And it's important that we all share our struggles, because it's not easy, and we're all doing our best. And we need to stop being so judgmental about
keyword judgmental
and judging each other, because we're all just really we're struggling, doing our best, and nobody knows it all.
No.
But all you can do is be satisfied in yourself that I've given it my all.
Yeah.
It may not be good enough for you, but it was all I could do.
Of course.
Of
course.
And your baby knows that, and your baby appreciates that.
Yeah.
And you know that, and you can sleep at night.
Yeah. I really do admire you, and I honestly just I lift my hands up and be like,
I wish I was half as glamorous as you.
Oh no. Abby, I don't remember seeing Abby Foluké look not glamorous. She always looks so fab. And I was just saying before, she's pushed out a 10-pound baby, and she's still looking snatched. Okay, you are looking snatched.
Well, this is something I'll thank my culture for. So in Yoruba culture, or I think it's a lot of African cultures, and you can tell me if yours is like that.
Yes.
After childbirth, they wrap your tummy.
Yeah.
And so I had to have my tummy wrapped.
So what did they use to wrap?
For me, because I didn't have all the materials that I needed, I just used a what was it
Kardashian's.
called? No, it wasn't. I did move on to a waist trainer after that, but it was too suffocating.
I can imagine.
But this was actually like a
fabric. Is it just?
But it had a Velcro thing that you could just wrap around.
Right.
Yeah. And
so where did you get that from?
It was from one of the maternity jobs.
Okay. So the next question is going to be centered around, just the color of our skin, the elephant in the room. So obviously being dark-skinned, it is always something that affects our careers one way or the other. Like it is not a choice, but it's just that's just what it is. So what has been your experience with being dark-skinned and you're building your career, especially here in Australia?
For me, it has been a matter of just adapting.
Yeah.
Okay, because if you want to survive in any situation, you just have to adapt, right?
Yeah.
And I think at the time, we didn't have the uprising that we're seeing now, the uprising of the oppressed, and the conversations around race, and we didn't have that groundswell to help progress the conversation or open up the conversation, the dialogue about race. But back then, for me, the only weapon I had was to try to beat people at their own game. And so it was like, I'm going to integrate as best as I can while still maintaining my own identity. So I made the choice because I realized that when I would apply, and this is a real problem, and studies have been done, when I would apply with Foluké, Badejo, I would not get the same response as I would if I put Abigail, Badejo. And so it was just a natural choice for me to just be Abby. To the point,
that is sad.
Yeah, the point where even some people didn't know at work that my name was Foluké. So I would have to educate people afterwards that actually, no, Abby is just my Christian name.
Double work.
I had to, because it was for me to get my foot in the door.
Yes.
I needed to whitewash myself. I needed to mainstream myself. Because that's
messed up.
Yeah, this is Australia, but this is not just unique to Australia.
No.
In America, studies have been done as well. You have a Jaquan sounding name versus John Smith. Who's going to get the call?
That's right.
These are types of racism that they're not as overt, but they are there.
Yes.
You know?
And they affect the
you.
individual.
So when we talk about privilege and white privilege, and people are like, you know, why is everyone talking about? Do you know that by virtue of your skin color, you are already privileged?
2 steps ahead of me.
People struggle. They're actually, it feels like a cognitive dissonance at times, that they can talk to me and look at me and also at the same time come to the realization that I'm not that stupid.
Isn't that sad?
But that's the assumption that they lead with.
Yeah.
You know, that, oh, this person looks a certain way, they care about wearing high heels, so they must have nothing going on upstairs. You know, they're, you know, she's black. Is that your hair? Yeah. And then they just reach out and touch your hair. Dear white people, please do not touch my hair.
Thank you.
And please stop asking about my hair.
That's right.
If it looks good, that's all you have to say.
Just compliment it.
It looks
and if
good.
it doesn't, just
because
shush.
let me educate you, where we come from, it's rude and it's disrespectful. It's important that you respect us as individuals and that you really check your stereotypes and your implicit biases, your unconscious biases, you know. Why am I asking this question? I'm genuinely curious, there's a thing called Google.
Yes, please.
You know?
Contact Dr. Google. Dr. Google is great.
I think I feel very blessed to be an intellectual, to be an academic, because now I feel like I'm in a position where I can speak up.
Yes.
And I can fight the ideological battle. I can actually weigh in and demand a seat at the table.
Yes.
Because I have a right to be represented. I have a right to participate in important conversations. And I'm tired of being excluded. And when I say excluded, I don't mean in everyday, you know, life or in everyday work life. I mean, as academics, we have to publish papers. And I'm tired of my voice being mainstreamed and whitewashed, and my Global South perspective not being respected by gatekeepers who want me to fit their interpretation and their view of how a particular problem needs to be understood. I'm sorry, but we are different to you, and it's okay to be different. Respect our difference.
You know,
our ways are valid.
Our
views are valid. We are people too, and you know, there is a difference between, you know, gatekeeping for rigor, you know, and scientific rigor, as opposed to gatekeeping because you don't agree with my ideology. You know, my ideology does not have to, you know,
agree with yours.
Yes, you know, we don't have to align.
No.
Because I come from a different world. I come from a different culture. My philosophy is different.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So
yes.
It's important, you know, to respect our philosophical differences.
Yeah.
Think about your position of privilege. Think about the fact that you already have a voice that is amplified. You are the majority.
Yeah.
We are not represented. Our voices are the minority, and so we need amplification. You do not have to give us a voice because we have a voice, but we need platforms in which we can amplify our voices and we can represent ourselves. We want decolonization of knowledge, because where I work as well, in the field of work that I do as an academic, you know, certain knowledge is privileged. Western knowledge is always privileged. And I don't even think it's restricted to my field. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, the Western way of thinking, Western thought, philosophy, that's prioritized, that's privileged over other knowledge. And it's important to acknowledge that, you know, Africa has an entire, you know, belief system. The Yoruba culture is one of the most influential in terms of its being exported through the transatlantic slave trade, through the Americas, you know, through the Caribbean. Our religion, the Yoruba religion, has been syncretized with Catholicism.
Yes.
And you know, it's taken on different, you know, forms now, and it's important that, you know, we don't all continue to be colonized, because our colonial mentality is what's holding us back as African
that's so
people.
Good. That's so
you know,
good.
We need to have respect and appreciation for our own culture.
And I think that we just need to keep having these conversations. We need to, I mean, there's this one particular woman who has got a YouTube channel. She's an entrepreneur, Patricia Bright. I don't know if you've heard of her.
Yeah.
Yes, so Patricia Bright has said that if you won't be given a seat at the table, make your own table.
Yeah.
And choose the people that you want to sit at that table.
Yeah.
And so for me, I suppose I'm in a place where I am just trying to create that, because I am sick of asking for a seat at the table.
Yeah.
I know that yes, we still need the opportunities, but I'm gonna start creating something on my own. I believe in God, right? And I believe that God will open doors for you.
Yes, absolutely.
When mankind
Yeah.
will try to close every door,
Yeah.
God will.
Absolutely.
If it is your destiny, if there's a bigger plan for what you're doing, what is in your heart, if you just put your work in,
Yes,
God will do the
absolutely.
rest.
Yeah.
And the last thing that we just wanted to talk about, because especially since we're talking about, just educating yourself, not just, going to school, but also just with the resources that you've got just around you. In particular, I feel like it is such a struggle for a lot of young people nowadays to decide what career path to go on, right?
Yeah.
Because, and this is something that has happened to me. For example, I wanted to do biology when I was in my last year of high school, and one of the teachers said to me, "Oh no, biology is too hard for you. You should just do some really a watered down kind of science subject."
Who
it was
is that
health science.
teacher?
I know.
What a dream killer.
Yes, I know, right?
I hope you apologize.
I'm a strong-headed person. I was like, this is what I want to do. And also I've got support with, my family supports me. My mom is really, really supportive. I did not listen to her, and I kind of just went with what I wanted. And I was able to get to university and all of that. But I've met, there's a lot of young people that are just really confused. One, because their teacher's telling them a different thing. Another thing is also perhaps their families are not as supportive. They want them to go a certain way versus what they really want.
Yeah.
What has been your experience in how you chose your career path, and what would be how would you advise a younger person or your younger self?
Yeah. To be honest, I don't feel like I chose a career. I feel like it chose me.
Right.
Honestly,
okay.
I've always just had this passion. I've always been spirited, and I feel like sometimes I just get consumed by, this passion to do and to be more than I am. And it comes from a sense of my core values. Justice is so important to me. Fairness, equality, determination, hard work, grit, and that is partially why, my social
the human trafficking supply chain.
Grace and Grit is the name of my social enterprise,
Yeah, okay.
And grit is, a value that I have and I cherish and I admire in a lot of people. Stamina, that determination, that persistence, the tenacity to go after your dreams and just don't give up until you get it. For me, in my case, I was always very good at writing. Yes. I was always very good at English, and I was always good at communicating. But I also felt very strongly about the rights of children, and I've always wanted to work with kids, in child protection or human rights. And writing kept me inspired, and being able to be creative with my writing and use it for good then led me to journalism and marketing, and it was through marketing that I found a field called social marketing and social behavior change. And once I discovered that, it was like all of my passions and interests and skills all kind of coalesced into this dream kind of career where I could get my PhD in social behavior change. I could work on social issues that I really care about. I could use my writing skills to advocate and design, and use my creativity to design programs, and my boundless curiosity, and that's the other thing. I'm so curious about everything, that it was like research, writing, social issues, all of that came together for me. And by getting a PhD and then being able to work as a researcher and lecturer, I earn enough to then, take care of myself and, have a good life. That's probably my advice, is that you just do some, skills inventory, some soul searching, some self-reflection, look at what you're good at, look at what inspires you, what turns you on, what lights you up, what fuels you, and then look at how you can combine those into a career that will also then help you pay the bills, but allow you to get into that flow state where you never feel like you're working. Do your bit for the world, but also you can do it in a way that serves you and also society, but the virtuous citizen.
Absolutely. Just one other thing I wanted to say is going to university is not the only way to succeed. So please don't don't give into the pressure. I know there's always pressures that come from family, from your peer groups, from your cultural background, where it's like you have to go to university to be successful.
That's the linear way of thinking.
In 2020, I honestly,
there's so many examples.
That's not the only way. And the reason why I say that is because there's so many young people that have actually studied 1 or even 2 degrees of just whatever that they want, like whatever that they could, and they're not using the degrees. And they have actually accumulated a whole lot of debt.
Yes,
which they're not able to pay back because what they've studied is not actually bringing any money in. And so it's not the only way. There's apprenticeships. There is the internet. Like, you can teach yourself
self-education
from the internet. You just need to make a commitment. When the only thing I would say is make a commitment to whatever you decide to do. Because if you make a commitment, then you make sure that you go all the way with it. Okay?
It's that commitment, that determination, that grit to never quit. Don't quit. You fall, you get back up. And you just keep going.
That's it.
Yeah.
But otherwise, that's all we wanted to share.
Oh, wow, it's been such a lovely conversation to have with you.
I really, really enjoyed it.
I did too. Thank you.
So thank you very much.
Fresh air to just have these conversations. With an old friend that you haven't seen in a long time.
And it's like, we've kind of just
picked up where
we left. Absolutely.
I love it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Foluké, for joining us, for blessing this platform.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome.
Yeah, I there's a lot more that I would like to say, but we can save that for another time.
Conversation. Yes, for sure.
But it's great to at least have this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I hope that you have learned something from Dr. Foluké or from me. Your questions are more than welcome. I can always pass them on to Foluké, and if I can answer some, I will. But otherwise, I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you very much again. If you're not subscribed, please do, so we can bring you more of these kind of amazing stories, more of these amazing people. And don't forget to like and comment.
And subscribe.
Subscribe.
This is an amazing woman, and I think what you're doing is so important and it's so necessary. And
thank you.
You bring so much color to Brisbane and to Australia, and I think your voice is an important one that needs to be heard. So please subscribe. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, till next time, guys. Have a wonderful day or night.
And cheers.
Bye. And